the SM Media Podcast Network.
Hi folks, and welcome to the latest episode of the Ref's View, part of the SM Media Podcast Network. I'm Scotty Pike. It is always a pleasure to be your host, and we're recording this slightly later than we usually do, for the simple reason we wanted to have a better understanding of the situation regarding a certain decision we'll talk about. We are recording this literally 2 minutes after we've got official word that Kofi Balmer's red card has been rescinded. We will get the guys' thoughts on that later on as we talk about all the big decisions over the weekend. All that's left me to do before we talk about it is to bring in our two experts on the show. First of all, Des Roach.
I'm very good, Scott. How are you?
I'm
good
very
to see
well,
you.
thank you. It's always a pleasure, and as always, a pleasure. Welcome, Steve Conroy.
Hello, hi. It's good to see that Des is underplaying his role in this and saying, "Yep, I'm very good."
No, I'm never very good.
Obviously,
I was never very good.
Obviously, as well, like we've got decisions in all kind of big games, like over the weekend, like a couple of major incidents that we will touch on. I want to touch on though, Des, obviously yourself and Steve, you were busy on Sunday.
No, I was busy. Steve
I
wasn't.
was.
Oh, you weren't there.
I was sick note.
Ah, right, okay.
He was meant to be there. Look at my curtain. That's why I'm burnt.
I don't look at the colour of you.
Very good. Enjoying this.
Let's just say the legs lasted 90 minutes, so I'm for pushing 50. I'm quite happy with myself. But what a tremendous game! Talent on show was brilliant. Really, really good, high quality.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we will go into the games over the weekend. Will we start at Kilmarnock? I think that's probably the big one. Let's start with Kilmarnock 2, Motherwell 0. Huge win for Kilmarnock in the battle for survival, but two red cards shown. One wasn't given by the referee and then was overturned. One was given by the referee, then was reduced to a yellow. Let's start with the one, Des. We'll start with the first one that was given, was the Kofi Balmer red card. Now, it was a straight red. It wasn't even. I don't even think Matthew McDermott even gave a booking for it. And then he was called to VAR, and Andrew Dallas told him to overturn it to a red card. Des, it's been rescinded by appeal. Is that the right call?
100% the correct call. 100%. Andrew Dallas had no reason to get involved in that decision. Kofi Balmer has made a very legitimate attempt to clear the ball. What's going to happen? Right, football's a physical sport. You are going to come into contact. Right? Yes, you don't want to see anybody hurt. Of course you don't. But Kofi Balmer's just won the ball and his legs got to go somewhere. And it just so happens that there was physical contact with the Kilmarnock player. Matthew McDermott never even gave a foul for it.
No.
In fact, no, he might have given a foul. He might have given
a foul. I don't think he gave a card.
foul. Yeah, but there was nothing from it. Andrew Dallas had absolutely no reason to get involved in that. And that is the absolute epitome of re-refereeing a game.
Steve, obviously for the viewers who maybe don't know, there was an incident during the week in the Merseyside derby between Liverpool and Everton where James Tarkowski, I think everybody in the world, if you've not seen it, I think everybody's unanimous it's a red card. And I think the thing with that was it's a very similar sort of situation where there's an attempt to play the ball when he does fall through and catches the player. Now, a lot of people have compared it to this one. I can see that, but I can also see that it's very different in different regards. I think you're probably in agreement with us that there's no way on earth that's a red card.
I agree with you completely, and apologies for my cat trying to get in there. It was an appalling decision from both of them. The one in the Liverpool-Everton, that was a shocking tackle. That was a leg breaker. And how they decided that wasn't a red card is beyond me. But if anybody carried that thought into that game, then they shouldn't be at the level that they're officiating at.
Yeah.
God, I have absolutely no idea what Dallas thought he saw. No idea. It wasn't, in my opinion, and I think you two are the same, it wasn't even a foul.
No.
Balmer just leathered the ball. Now, what's he going to do? Defy the laws of physics? You can't just leather the ball like that and then your foot stop. You break something if that happens. Of course, his leg's going to follow through. But there was no foul. And God forbid that you agree with Michael Stewart. Even Michael Stewart on the telly said it's just...
Let's save him for later, because I've got to bring him up. Let's save him for later.
Right. But it was absolutely appalling. It was never a foul. And Matthew blotted his copybook by looking at that and going, I agree, that's a red card.
That's exactly what I thought.
Shocking decision from both of them.
Right, we're going to come to Matthew later on. So
yes, we will. But Matthew obviously makes the decision for the next one, which is it's a weird one, because there's a bit of is it handbags to a degree? I've got a couple of questions I want to ask about this one. It was the Thompson foul on Armstrong. Now, Matthew McDermott, within seconds, gives this as a red card. Does he give the red card for the foul, or what happens after that? And the second question, how much of a play does the assistant have here? Because he is right next to it.
So I think he gives the red card for the incident that happens after the foul. I think he's gave it for Dom Thompson try to come on and potentially use a head movement. I also think the assistant has he's got the best view of the lot.
He's right there.
They're both standing below his feet.
Yeah.
But this is where I'm going to be controversial. I just think this season's found out that Matthew McDermott is not a particularly good referee and shouldn't be a FIFA badge. I'll get a lot of slate for this, but we can only answer the questions that were asked. I just think it was a really, really poor decision. And Andrew, to be fair to Andrew dug him out a hole, but is the hole that he's digging out deeper than the one he done him for the first one with the red card?
It's kind of like it's the both like, do you know what I mean? They both kind of, as Steve says, the phrase blotted their copybook. They both kind of put themselves in bad positions that they didn't need to, and obviously a appeals process has found the first one not to be a red card. Steve, the thing that really annoyed me with this was the fact that the player went up the tunnel before the VAR got involved. Surely in this day and age, we've seen how many players stand their ground until the VAR process helps, maybe gets them out of trouble. Why is that player allowed to go up the tunnel before that decision's made? That to me is just amateur stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know what the conversation between Dallas and Matthew was. I don't know when Dallas...
We'll probably hear it, I'd imagine.
I have no idea. So if Dallas has spoken, then he shouldn't have been allowed to go. He should have stood his ground, isolate him, have him on his own, so there's nothing happening.
Because if you watch it as well, he's also, I don't know, I think it's the Kelly sub or the Kelly bench. He's kind of having a pop at them as well. And to me, that's completely avoidable if you just keep him on the park, out the way.
Keep him isolated.
Yes.
But, you know, and I'm not going to be as hard on him on that one, because we've all made those decisions. He got that wrong. He made a mistake. But he didn't handle it well, just as you've said, allowing the guy to go up the park. But that's just made it a absolutely awful game for him with the two. Des has had a go at Matthew and thinking he's going to get recurrences for that. I'm going to have a go at Dallas. How many times does he get a chance to make awful, appalling, inexplicable decisions like that, and he keeps getting all the big games? He missed and I'll use Derek McInnes's words now that we're on Kilmarnock, up at St Mirren Park, where he missed the double volley from Sean, I can't remember his surname, and deemed that was all right. But his consequence was that he got the League Cup final.
Yes.
And to go back to the League Cup final, that's when Willie Collum came out with his accountability statement. Now, Alan Muir, although Alan has made a couple of howlers, he's been, if stories are correct, he's been put on gardening leave. He's not been on as high-profile games. And he probably had to serve a penance for the mistakes that he's made. What about Dallas? He just keeps getting them. It's unfathomable.
I think that shows how shallow a pool we've
Well,
got.
that's what I was going to say in terms of Matthew McDermott, because it was like the one thing that was bugging me about the whole thing when you watch it back is this weird finger wag that he has. Like, I don't know about anybody that watches this, but if anybody was going like that to me, signaling me over, I wouldn't react well to it. But if you
No.
type Matthew McDermott's name into X or Facebook or any social media, you have to go way, way down to find a positive comment. Now, again, that's a lot of people who don't usually have a lot of things nice to say about a referee, but it's pretty bad, some of the stuff. And the one thing, Des, is that I've noticed with this, particularly with Matthew McDermott, is there's a body of evidence there. There's video of this. And we've seen it. We've been through it a lot. Matthew McDermott's name is coming up a lot when we do this, and a lot in terms of people on social media. And I'm not like really want to single out a referee here, but I think we deserve a better standard than what we're getting. And like as Steve says, if Matthew McDermott and Andrew Dallas get a game next week of this level, especially when we've got a massive few weeks ahead in terms of the split and the fight for Europe, the fight for relegation and things like that. It's a difficult situation to be in if you're getting referees that you feel aren't up to it.
Yeah, and listen, we don't try to personalise this, right? Listen, Steve and I have been there. We've been under pressure. I can fully accept the scrutiny that they're under. And when I said there that I just don't think Matthew's a particularly great referee, that's just a personal opinion, right? That's just a personal opinion. That's nothing against Matthew as a person, because I'm sure he's a lovely guy. But I think the body language that he exudes during the game, I mean, come on, you can't do that to people. If I done that in my work to any of my colleagues, do you think you're going to get respect? No. So why do you think that it's acceptable to do that to 22 players on a football pitch? I just think his whole body language it could do with coaching.
It's not the best way to describe it, in my opinion, is it's not the right way to present yourself as in a position of authority, which a referee has on the park. That's the wrong way to go about it, in my opinion.
But you've only got authority if the people that you are managing accept you.
Yes, correct.
If they accept you. So if they don't accept you, they're not going to give you that respect. But by acting like that, you're not showing them the respect. So that's the way I would say. I think it does need a bit of coaching. Yeah.
Before we leave this game, and I think it was the biggest talking point, there's a couple of things in the the periphery of what we've been discussing. Talking about the pool of refs we've got no idea about the pool that's coming up behind. We've said it before, because it's the same people get all the games. Yeah. So it doesn't matter how many mistakes Matthew McDermott makes or Andrew Dallas makes or whoever. They keep getting the games and they keep making the same mistakes. So we've got no idea what's coming up behind. Now, if I was a young up-and-coming ref and I'm watching that every week, I'm going, and I'm not getting a Premier game, I'm going, what the hell do I need to do? Or what the hell does he need to do that I get a game? That's one thing. But I'm going to talk about the reaction of the couple of the Kilmarnock players at the game. And as you know, I have my doctor hat on a lot of the time. And I can't remember the names of both Kilmarnock players that were affected in those challenges. Did you see their reaction? Mm-hmm. Especially the second one with the Armstrong one. The Kelly player rolling about as if he'd been shot. I'm sorry, it's a fundamental. You see somebody doing that, take my word for it, they're not sore, they're not hurt. The last thing you want to do with a sore bit is move it. Mm-hmm. So the people that you see who go down and stay down and don't move, they're the ones you worry about. Anybody that does more than one roll that momentum would allow is at it.
Let's go to Ibrox for the next one. Just there was a few bits incidents here, but they were mainly kind of not nothing incidents, but I don't think they had a massive impact on the game. Steve, the one I was going to come to was a possible penalty on Dessers late in the game. Now, the game's gone. Rangers had, take it from me, Rangers had no chance of getting anything from this game. They could still be playing the now and not have scored a goal. But there was a possible penalty incident on Dessers. I can imagine where you're going here based on what you've just said. What do you think it?
No, not a penalty. Touch. is not against the laws of the game, especially in the penalty area when you've got two defenders trying to get rid of the ball and you've got one forward. There's going to be contact, there's going to be jostling. There wasn't enough contact in it for me, and I've said it before, and I'll get the brunt of it again. If that level of contact is enough to put a fit, healthy, active, professional athlete on the floor like that, then I'm sorry, there's something wrong with him. I've written down dive. I would have done him for simulation. Okay. Now, I know that that's a bit harsher compared to you, because we had the discussion earlier, but I think that was shocking. And I don't know why these guys do it when they know it's going to be replayed, and the whole world's going to see it.
Yeah, I agree. It wasn't a shove. I would say, if anything, it was a nudge at the absolute most. But as you said, he'd probably had a better. See, if he'd stayed on his feet, he'd had a better chance of scoring the goal.
No, he didn't. It's Cyril Dessers. No, he didn't.
Well,
you're not impartial.
Nah, I'm kind of, people will know my opinions on that. But there was one thing in this game. Now, I actually counted this because I'm sad, but the second goal, the Martin Boyle goal, there was a 3-minute and 49-second delay to see if he was onside. Desi's in his own half, and you can see within seconds he's in his own half. Why is that? We say it all the time. Why is that taking so long? The line is there. They don't need to draw much more than what they have.
The line's on the pitch. You can see it's there. So there's absolutely no reason Kevin Clancy and Don should have had 3 minutes and 49 seconds to get there. You and I could tell it watching on Sportscene. You and I could tell it watching on the WhatsApp messages that were probably sending around 30 seconds after it. It was never offside. And again, I'll use Steve's phrase, VAR is sometimes there just to cut a fancy way of chopping off goals. That was onside. It was a goal. And as much as I like Don, I rate him. I think he's our best referee that we have. I think Kevin, I don't know, he's on that. Was he watching something on his phone or something? I don't know.
Probably Grand National was on at the same time, so it probably could have been that.
Well, it shouldn't have taken 3 minutes, 49 seconds to call that one.
But again, a couple of incidents in this, people were talking about was Butland's vision impeded for the opening goal. I've seen a camera angle. I don't think it is. I don't think there's anything in that.
I somebody on Twitter at the weekend that was, and I'll say ranting, because it's the same. Whatever happens on either side of the divide, you get the exact same response. But berating me, I don't know. I wasn't involved in it, but berating me that Butland's his vision had been obstructed, and I replied, probably a bit facetiously, that the only person on that pitch that knows if Butland's view was impeded was him, but he offered not a word of protest.
No, he absolutely didn't. No. He absolutely didn't.
And neither did Barry Ferguson.
No, not at all. But Dundee St Mirren at 2-0 to Dundee, not any massive incidents. Couple of wee things like missing handballs, and a couple of times the referee was behind play a wee bit. I wanted to come to you, Des, for Ross County Aberdeen, because there was a clip sent to us on the Twitter page. I keep calling it Twitter, I know it's not.
Yeah.
With Lloyd Wilson doing his best attempt to be Fabio Cannavaro. It's bad. It's really bad.
What do you say? I think the fact that we're all laughing at this is enough comment indeed.
For those who haven't seen it, Graham Shinnie, I think Graham Shinnie is trying to get a shot away, and Lloyd Wilson is just right in the middle of it. But should that be happening in the 18-yard box? Should that be? Is that the best position to be in that situation for the referee?
No, he should be reading the game, and that's what we say. You have the feel of the game. He should be reading the play better and understand where he has to position himself. So that shouldn't be happening.
But if that's the position that he thinks is the best in that situation, then that's up to him, and he has to defend him. See, if you choose that position, I wrote down, and again answered somebody at the weekend, it's basic match awareness.
That's it.
Where the ball's coming out at a corner, the assumption would be that somebody's going to be hammering into leather that ball. Get out the road.
Yeah.
It's basic, utterly basic.
Again, I'm going back to it. Is that the pool that we're swimming in?
Yeah.
Keep picking the same people.
Yeah, well, I'm quite interested this way. I was actually going to look and see. I've got the 12 names written down that were VAR and referees this weekend. I'm going to see how many of them stay in that role this weekend. I imagine it'd be certainly double figures at least.
I would imagine.
They come out today.
Yeah, so we'll find out about that. We'll move into Sunday. We'll start at St Johnstone 1, Celtic 0. Huge win for St Johnstone, obviously delaying Celtic's title party. Couple of wee incidents in this game. Potential handball from Hatate. Steve, Varchek, you didn't seem convinced.
No, not in the slightest. No, yep, it hit him. But you can see his arm was down by his side. If anything, he was trying to get it even closer into his side. So no handball. Would never have been a handball even in the old days. So no, nothing.
What do we think of the next one, the one late on where Alistair Johnson is pretty much held in the area, but Des, is that enough for a penalty?
I've watched it, I've seen it a few times. There's certain stills that shows it in a different way, as if he's been cradled like a baby. But I think that Alistair Johnson has put his two arms round the St Johnstone players first to try and make an attempt at an overhead kick or to make contact with the ball. I think he's initiated the contact, and as much to Steve's demise here, no, it's not a penalty kick.
Steve, any disagreement?
Oh, that's an absolutely appalling assessment. No, I agree completely. And again, credit to them. Nobody put up much of a fight.
No.
What was it? Dermot Gallagher described it as holding them up like the FA Cup or something.
Aye,
but it's no. Alistair Johnson initiated it. It was a nothing, and everybody reacted as if it was a nothing. So fair play to them.
Let's move on to another big call over the weekend. Hearts 0, Dundee United 1. We did mention Michael Stewart earlier on, and I'm definitely going to mention him here. The one thing I will say in his defence on the incident with the Kofi Balmer, he said something that I don't think many people have about this. On a still, it looks horrific, but you cannot judge this on a, you cannot judge that on a still. But for this one, Des, the Jamie Wilson incident for Hearts against Dundee United, I do not understand commentators, and this isn't the first time Michael Stewart has done it. Why, when they have the first instance of replays more than anybody else, why do they insist on going straight away? This isn't a red card when they have only seen it once. That, to me, for a commentator, is ridiculous. I know it's not, we're talking about referees. We'll do that in a second. I cannot fathom why a commentator would instantly say that's not a red card when he must have only seen it from the gantry. You do not have evidence that that's a red card or it's not a red card until you see it up close in a camera.
Right. So what I'll do is I'll take it back. I take it you drive, Scott?
Yes.
Steve, you drive?
Of a fashion.
Yeah. Right. So we've all got a driving license. I drive.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Has Michael Stewart got a referee's qualification? So plain and simple, Michael Stewart is not qualified to make that assertion. That is a red card every day that ends in a Y, right? And Michael Stewart has made an absolutely horrendous comment. But listen,
I just don't get why he does it straight away. Why, within 2 seconds? I didn't even. I watched it live and I was going, I want to see that again. I want to see that before I can say it's a red card or not, because you can't make a definitive decision there and then.
Michael Stewart's got his own audience to play for, and I was going to say the exact same. God love him, Michael Stewart played for Hibs and Hearts, far better footballer than Des and I ever were. But we're the refs. You didn't need another look at that tackle. Mm-hmm. That was a red tackle instantly. A red tackle. That was a red card instantly. You didn't need another look. And for anybody to say otherwise is, again, unfathomable. It's our word. No idea.
And listen, I've got no doubt that the boy James Wilson, there was no intent, there was no malice. He's been naive.
He's just late. The ball. He's late. That's it. Yeah.
And do you know what? That's it. That's it. Even his own manager said after the game, he will learn from this. But for Michael Stewart to try and double down on it and defend it, he's trying to defend his own craft there.
I don't think anybody's down as a red card. It's not a malicious tackle. The boy's he's just late. That's the only way to describe it. We did say that we were going to talk about obviously we would look at the appointments for this weekend coming. Andrew Dallas's VAR for Dundee United, St Johnstone, and Aberdeen Rangers. He's got 2 games this weekend. So Matthew McDermott, from what I can see, doesn't have an appointment in the Premiership anyway. So I think we know who's getting the blame for that game on Saturday.
Well, take that we've just described I'll use it again, unfathomable decisions that Dallas made. Totally inexplicable, and anybody who has a modicum of football sense cannot understand the decisions he made. But with that decision, the SFA have just told us that Andrew Dallas, no matter what he does, no matter how bad he is, not only does he get a game the next week, he gets 2 games. That just tells you everything you want to know about what's going on.
Des, I can't get my head around that. I can, because I'm not surprised, but also, and again, I'm not a fan of Matthew McDermott as a referee, but it's 50-50 in terms if you want to do the blame game.
I'm not doing the blame game. I'll just let Steve go for it.
Aye.
To me, that's crazy. I cannot believe it.
Okay. And whoever it is that does the Willy Vision every month or whenever it is, they have to sit down and ask him these things.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell is going on?
Do you think he would come on and have a wee one chat with us, a wee Q&A with us?
The invitation's there. I doubt it'll go responded, but the invitation's certainly there. But pivotal weekend coming up this weekend. Obviously, the split will be determined. Some massive games. There's some very interesting games. We will be back next week, guys. Always a pleasure. Thank you very much for coming on this week.
Always a pleasure, Scott.
And we will see you all soon.